Let's talk about the weirdest thing that happened in movies last year. Zootopia 2 made $2 billion. Biggest animated film of 2025. And if you bring it up today, most people say roughly the same thing. It was fun, but exhausting. Too fast. Too many chase scenes. Nick and Judy just kept getting thrown off cliffs and nobody got a second to breathe. People bought tickets, had a good time, and then the conversation just stopped. I've been sitting with this movie for a while though, and something kept bothering me. Everyone said the pacing was the problem. My favorite animated movie of 2025, by a distance, and the main thing people took away was that it needed to slow down. But that breathless, relentless pacing was doing something very specific, and we all missed it. The animation and the jokes, yeah, those are great. Everyone already said that. What nobody's really talking about is what's happening underneath. The character psychology, the villain, why the pacing works the way it actually does, and an ending that resolves 3 completely separate things at the same time. We thought the film was moving too fast to think. It was moving fast on purpose. I'm Mac, this is Mac and Flicks, and let's actually slow this film down. There's a concept in screenwriting called the ghost. Every compelling character has one. The ghost is a wound from the past, something that happened, something that was said, something that never healed, and it quietly drives everything the character does. They're not always aware of it, but it shows up in every decision they make, the walls they put up, the things they run from. The ghost also comes with a coping mechanism, a wall the character builds around the wound so it never gets hit the same way again. Nick Wilde's entire personality is that wall. Nick grew up as a fox. In Zootopia, that means growing up surrounded by suspicion, never trusted. Every room he walked into, someone assumed the worst. So he stopped caring. Or more accurately, he performed not caring, which is a different thing, but he got really good at making them look the same. The jokes, the detachment, the way he never invests in anything. Pure armor. The film actually calls this out directly. Bogo asks Nick why he never takes anything seriously. Nick tells him his jokes are a defense mechanism for childhood trauma, delivers it like a punchline. But it's just true. His wound is abandonment. The fear that if he actually lets himself care about the case, about Judy, and then loses it, he won't survive it. So there's always an exit ready. He tries to tank the investigation, wants to leave the city entirely when things get dangerous. He pre-builds ways to lose, so nothing can blindside him. Judy's wound is a completely different animal. She's a bunny who became a cop in a city that never thought she could. Her wound is the constant implication that she doesn't belong, that sooner or later someone's going to use her failures as proof of what they always suspected. So she overcorrects, hard. She even called it herself, a bunny hero complex. Throws herself into danger to prove something, makes unilateral decisions, disobeys direct orders. The exterior is hyper-competence. The interior is panic. Watch how this plays through the second act. Every time things get genuinely dangerous, Nick's instinct is to create distance. He pushes for them to take Mr. Big's offer and just leave the city. When Judy pushes back, he skips past the case entirely and goes straight to the stakes. Why risk everything for a city that already turned on them? It's an exit. He's building a way out before the loss can find him first. Judy just accelerates. Every time the situation gets dangerous, she charges straight at it, jumps onto moving vehicles, disobeys orders, goes directly for the thing most likely to get her hurt or fired. She's forcing a win before anyone gets the chance to send her home. Neither of them is making good decisions. They're running the same old playbook at the worst possible time. And the film watches them do it without ever holding up a sign that says, "Look at what's really happening here." It just trusts you to see it. And it turns out what they're afraid of is exactly what every argument between them is actually about. Nick and Judy's whole dynamic runs on what screenwriters call the seesaw effect. Two characters with completely different instincts constantly pushing against each other, where neither one holds the high ground for long. And it really works when the argument on the surface is about something completely different from what the argument is actually about. Nick and Judy have this in the first film. Zootopia 2 makes it way sharper. The opening undercover sequence at the shipyard. Judy is picking a lock. Nick comments on her technique. She pushes back. 2 exchanges and the whole dynamic is already right there. She's performing competence, he's performing impatience, and neither of them is actually talking about the lock. Later, Judy wants to chase a lead against direct orders. She frames it as bravery. Nick frames it as recklessness and tells her to drop it. On the surface, that's a disagreement about strategy. But Judy is scared Bogo is going to split them up if they don't deliver something big, so she's forcing a move. Nick is scared she's going to get killed or fired, so he's trying to stop her. They're fighting about completely different fears and calling it a disagreement about the case, and neither of them knows they're doing it. Judy genuinely thinks she's arguing about tactics. Nick genuinely thinks he's being practical. They just learned, at some point, to turn every real conversation into a work conversation. That way, the actual stuff never has to come up. The film gives you a physical object to track all of this through: the carrot pen. At Nick's police graduation, Judy gives it to him publicly. In the first film, it was a blackmail tool. She used it to get Bellwether's confession. Handing it to Nick at his graduation means the instrument of their original conflict is now a symbol of trust. He puts it in a place of honor in his apartment. That pen tracks the state of their relationship across the entire film. And during the cliff sequence, Nick is using it to mock her, playing the old recording of her calling herself a dumb bunny from the first film. Judy tries to snatch it back. They knock hands and it falls all the way down the cliff. Shatters. Their actual fight happens immediately after. The pen didn't break by accident. The moment that really exposes the pattern, before the actual climax, is inside the lodge. Nick finally says what he actually feels. Not about the case, about her. About what losing her would mean. And Judy responds by saying maybe they really are too different after all. Before either of them can do anything with that, the goats smash through the wall and the whole place explodes into chaos. They get separated. The conversation just ends. Which is almost worse. And at the end, Nick gives Judy a badly wrapped present. Inside is the pen, repaired with tape. He hands it to her and says what he couldn't say for 2 movies. The pen records it and plays it back. He immediately tries to take it back. Nick gave it back, repaired with tape. The prop carried the entire relationship arc by itself. Now. The reason all of this subtext stays hidden for so long, the reason neither of them breaks the pattern until the very end, is also the most misunderstood thing about this movie. Zootopia 2 opens with Gary the Snake dropping from a chandelier at a high society gala, snatching the city patriarch and vanishing into the shadows. Every visual cue is screaming monster. In the context of this world, reptiles were banished after a historical fanging incident. They're the population the city decided was too dangerous to live alongside everyone else. Every note of that mythology plays in Gary's entrance. By the time Judy finds him, you're already scared of him. And then Judy finds him in the Lynxley study. He recoils like a frightened child. He's trembling. The fanging incident was staged. The banishment was built on a lie Gary's family has been carrying for his entire life. The monster is a victim. Meanwhile, Pawbert Lynxley. First appearance, bumping into Judy at the gala, stammering through an introduction, accidentally grabbing a nearby lion's tail to wipe her off with. His own siblings walk past and tell him to get off stage. He barely registers as a person in the room, let alone a threat. What makes him interesting, and this is the thing the film is doing quietly while you're watching everything else, is that he and Nick share the exact same wound. Both desperate to belong somewhere, both hiding it differently. Nick covers it with jokes. Pawbert covers it with helpfulness, attaching himself to whoever will let him. It's called the lie introduction. Make a character completely safe before you blow it up. Get them likable, get them relatable, and then detonate it at the exact moment the trust is highest. He doesn't wait for a big dramatic moment to turn on her. She makes an offhand comment that acknowledges villain twists happen. He acknowledges it back and uses that exact beat to inject her with snake venom. He'd already decided. The speech about being fellow underdogs comes after, while she's already on the floor. His justification, not his trigger. The one the film spent 20 minutes making you terrified of? Completely innocent. The one you never even clocked as a threat? Running all of it. And because we already understand what Pawbert actually wants, he tells Judy early on that he's a Lynxley, or trying to be, with enough self-deprecation that it reads as endearing. The betrayal lands differently. He's not a mystery villain. He's the mirror. Nick's wound with a different outcome. Pawbert isn't some random villain dropped in to generate plot. He's what happens when the same wound goes a different direction. Nick found a pack worth belonging to. Pawbert chose a corrupt family that never wanted him in the first place. When a dying Judy offers him a way out, tells him he could be different from his family, he turns it down. He doesn't want to be different. That's more unsettling than the venom, because it means he looked at the option and actively chose this. His defeat lands with the right irony. He gets stopped by exactly the combination of people his family spent generations trying to exclude, including the snake they framed. And now we need to talk about why none of this would hit the way it does without the choice the film makes structurally. The choice that everyone calls the film's biggest flaw. But before that, if you're enjoying this, hit subscribe and drop a like. It genuinely helps the channel and means I get to keep making these. Follow on the socials too, links are in the description. Okay, back to it. The most common complaint about Zootopia 2 is that it's just chase scene after chase scene. The first film gave you detective work, room to think, time to sit with the characters. This one throws them off cliffs for 2 hours. All of that is accurate. The film just has a reason for it. In the original Zootopia, Nick and Judy were detectives. They had backing. They had a ticking clock, 48 hours to find Emmett Otterton. They could follow clues methodically, sit in waiting rooms, stand at a DMV counter while Flash processes one keystroke every 4 minutes. The first film could breathe because the story let them breathe. Zootopia 2 takes all of that away. After the Gala disaster, they're not detectives anymore, they're fugitives. The ZPD is actively hunting them. No resources, no cover, nowhere safe to stop. And what follows gives them no room at all. Car trunk, Nibbles the Beaver's getaway truck, Marsh Market, the water transit tubes at full speed, ejected at the base of a cliff, the honeymoon lodge, ambushed again before they can catch breath. Nick and Judy literally cannot catch their breath, so you don't get to either. If the pacing slowed down, if there was a quiet scene, a check-in, even 30 seconds of calm, Judy would rationalize her reckless decisions. Nick would put the mask back on. The walls would go right back up before the film got a chance to knock them down. That relentless pace is what actually breaks them. Every crisis takes something else away. By the time they reach the honeymoon lodge, they have nothing left. The real argument finally happens. They say the things they've been saying in code the whole movie. Zootopia 2 can't slow down because if they stop running, they have to talk. The film can't let that happen until they're ready. And the comedy runs on the exact same logic. Flash the Sloth as a getaway driver hitting G-force speeds. That joke only works because the stakes around it are genuinely life or death. Take away the pressure, and Flash is just a slow driver. So when the ending finally arrives, when they've been stripped of everything and have nothing left to protect themselves with, it has to do something enormous. And it does. There's a concept in screenwriting about what a perfect ending actually needs to do. It has to resolve 3 completely separate things at the same time. The external stakes, the internal stakes, and the philosophical stakes. What's happening in the world, what's happening between the characters, and what the film has actually been arguing about the whole time. Hit all 3 at once and the ending feels enormous. Miss one and something feels slightly off, even if you can't name why. Miss 2 and you walk out satisfied but empty. Most films land one of these, a few land 2. Zootopia 2 lands all 3 in the same sequence of scenes. The external stakes are the most visible. Pawbert is trying to burn the original Weatherwall patent, the only proof that a snake invented the technology that makes this whole city work. If he gets to it first, that history disappears forever. The Tundra Town expansion moves forward. The last reptile neighborhood gets frozen out of existence. Nick, Judy, Gary, and Nibbles are chasing him through a snow maze against a literal ticking clock. This is the part of the ending that runs on pure adrenaline. And it works, but it's the least interesting of the 3. Stakes are clear, outcome is satisfying. Physical world gets saved. Then the personal layer. This is the one I actually care about. Throughout the entire film, Judy's instinct in a crisis is to do it alone. Every dangerous leap, every solo call, every moment where she charges at something that might destroy her, she never asks for help because asking means admitting she needs it. And Nick's instinct in a crisis is to pull back, exit, create distance before the loss finds him first. In the opening car chase, Nick tries to stop Judy jumping onto a moving van. He grabs for her and knocks her off balance instead. It looks like clumsiness. The film plants that moment early and then moves on. Then, in the climax, facing a chasm between them and the clock tower, Judy goes to make the leap alone. Same instinct, same solo charge. And Nick reaches for her again. But this time, he doesn't grab her to stop her, he grabs her hand to jump with her. No speech, no declaration. He just reaches, she just takes his hand, and everything they couldn't say closes in one gesture. You feel it before you understand it, because the first version was planted so quietly that when the mirror shows up, something just clicks. The first version reads as clumsiness. The second reads as a decision. Same action, everything else changed. Then the philosophical layer, the one that turns the ending from a big action finish into something that actually means something. The first Zootopia argued that individual prejudice is bad. That's a real argument, but it's a manageable one. Someone has a bias, they overcome it, the world gets a little better. Zootopia 2 argues something harder. The city wasn't just prejudiced, it was built on a theft. The founding story is a lie. The diversity everyone celebrates was designed to be erased, and the walls literally buried a community to make that happen. The way it works in screenwriting, the underdog values have to actually win, through what happens shown in the story. The Lynxley family's position is that different species can't coexist, that the walls between them are natural, that the city's history belongs to mammals. The film answers that with a situation rather than dialogue. Nick and Judy survive because of Gary. The snake the city spent a century calling dangerous is the reason they're alive. The patent they recover proves a snake invented the technology the entire city runs on. The Lynxley founding lie gets exposed and flipped completely. The differences they call dangerous are the exact reason they lose. The combination his family spent generations trying to exclude is what stops Pawbert. Then the partner class at the end doubles it at the personal scale. The cops who spent the whole film hunting Nick and Judy are now being taught by them. The partnership everyone called dysfunctional, wrong, too different to function, is now the model. The film makes the same argument at two completely different scales. The city's entire history, and two people who couldn't figure out how to trust each other. Both times the answer is the same. The differences weren't the liability, they were the whole point. Zootopia 2 is going to be one of those films that gets reassessed. The craft underneath it. The way Nick and Judy are each running from a different version of the same fear. The villain who's their mirror. The pacing that has a precise structural job. The ending that closes three separate stories in the same gesture. Most animated sequels don't attempt one of those. This film does all of them and then moves on without making a fuss about it. So when people say it has too many chase scenes, yeah, that's the point. A movie about two people who have to keep running so they don't have to face each other. The chase is the argument. The first Zootopia got celebrated for being smart. This one just was. A film about a city too busy looking ahead to see what it buried, made for an audience they were counting on to do the same thing. If this breakdown changed how you see the movie, drop a like and subscribe. For more deep dives into your favorite animated films, click the video on your screen right now. I'll see you over there.